Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari. And today I want to tell you 3 things that will take us out of our state of calmness, make us lose our cool and agitate our minds. We want to avoid an agitated mind. Whatever you're doing, you'll do better if you're calm, if your mind isn't agitated. You think better, you act better. And here are 3 things that will make us lose our cool. First thing is expectation. Now, nothing is going to make you lose your cool more than expectation. What happens is when you think reality should be this way, and you create this expectation of how things should be. And then that thing happens, that person speaks, that event occurs, whatever you had an expectation about, and it comes, but it's different from what you had in mind, from what your expectation was. So that difference between what you had fantasized that should be the reality shocks with what reality actually is, and that makes you agitated. That will set your mind out of balance. You lose your harmony because you're going to try to deal with this difference. You have to what happened? You can't understand, and that makes you agitated. Now the problem with expectations is they creep up on you. And you create expectations without being aware of them. You have to actually really look inside, be constantly aware of how your mind is operating, because we create non-stop expectations of what people should say and how they should behave, how things should happen, events. We're always creating. So we have to actually look into yourself and say, no, let's be prepared for these different scenarios. This person should behave in such a way, but they might not. People don't. People act in crazy ways. This event should happen. I should be able to drive from A to B, but hey, accidents happen. You get flats, things that you don't expect happen. So don't, make sure you're not creating these expectations so that when when something that you weren't expecting happens, you're all disturbed and out of balance because you weren't ready for it. So be very careful. That's a huge thing that throughout the day is making people irritated, losing their cool, is because they're just always operating with all these expectations. The second thing is indignation. Now, what's indignation? Indignation means that you're seeing some injustice, you're perceiving injustice, and it could be very well true. You see something that you think just isn't right, or somebody treats you in a way which you understand to be unjust, right? That's okay. So now, the problem with indignation, though, is that it's accompanied by wrath, by anger. So you see injustice and you get angry. That is the definition of indignation. So what we have to do is we have to separate these two. Yes, justice. We definitely want to be aware of justice. We definitely want to fight for justice and defend justice, and we don't want to suffer any kind of injustice. So that's fine. So yes, recognize if something is not just. That's fine. But do not go to wrath. Do not get angry. Instead, analyze the situation. Okay, this happened. This is not just. This is incorrect. What can I do? What is the best action for me now? Take a moment. Don't just react in anger. Take a moment to figure out, okay, what is the best action from my part? What is my enlightened response to this injustice? And whatever it is, it'll be different paths forward. It could be a long-term thing. It could be an immediate thing. But what is my best calm response to this injustice? So you're separating the indignation. No, I'm just perceiving the injustice, and then I'm going to act calmly in an enlightened manner. So careful with indignation, because we tend to think it's okay because it's based on a good thing, fighting for justice. But then this negative element of anger is no good for us, and it won't help us act any better. But by the contrary, you could actually do something wrong in response. You could actually commit a mistake. And you see this with, mob justice. Sometimes people get indignated, they suffer, they feel indignation towards someone who actually is innocent. I mean, there are cases, happens all the time. People kill others because they were like, oh yeah, you did this thing. It actually didn't. They were actually innocent. They didn't go through the correct process of investigation. You just went with the indignation, and people can actually die. You can commit murder. So it's very serious. Okay, third thing is change of focus. Now what happens is your mind, it's like a machine. Your body is a machine. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this machine made of material energy. So this is a machine. And your brain is certainly part of this machine. Now your brain uses a lot of energy. Actually, this is one of the biggest energy consumers in the body, is this big brain we have. Now, when you change your focus, when you're doing one thing, and then you have to do another thing, that requires a surge of energy use. Sometimes, have you noticed, especially if you still work with like computers or laptops or something, and then you put on some other application, you switch on some other thing, and then you can hear like the fan turning on because things are heating up, because now you're using more CPU. Let's say you start, if you're like me and you're always editing a video, as soon as you press, okay, render the video, you can see like they're figuring out. It's like a big processing power thing. So it requires more energy. Now your brain, when you change focus, it's like that. It's like somebody just clicked on something like, oh no, look, and now I have to use more energy. And that creates physiologically a sensation of irritation. So you get angry, you lose your calm because you're having to do this thing. Now, especially when you weren't expecting, so you had the expectation of being able to do one thing, so you didn't have the expectation. So you had the expectation that you weren't going to be bothered. And then you are bothered, so that's already like the expectation issue making you angry. And then you're having to change focus, which is a physiological like demand, makes you also lose your calm. So that change of focus really disturbs you. You might have noticed this, like you're doing something, somebody like demands, like calls you, a phone rings, like something happens and you have to be pulled out of that. You get really agitated, right? I mean, you probably snapped at, your children or somebody close to you because of that, right? Because you're doing something like, what do you want? It's like, I'm doing this thing. Because you get really angry. So because it has expectation and change of focus. So make sure that when you're doing something, you can actually do it. Take precautions not to be interrupted. Close the door, switch off the notifications. Put your phone on silent, or just put it in a drawer or somewhere else so you don't even see it. So make sure you're like, this is focus time. I'm going to do this, and I don't want to be disturbed. I don't want something else coming in the middle. I'm not going to deal with anything else. I'm just going to do this. So you can take these practical steps to avoid this change of focus, so that it's done. Okay, I've finished this. Just do one thing at a time. I'm doing this, and then I'm going to do that thing. And you just let everybody know so they don't demand that you change in the middle. So these are the three things that will help you remain cool and not lose your calm. Okay, first thing, expectation, huge thing, very important, hard because they keep coming up subtly. Second thing is indignation, separating that wrath part of the indignation, just discarding that and just focusing on identifying the injustice and acting calmly, enlightened manner in your Dharma to fight it. And three, the change of focus issue. So that's it. I hope that helped you. Let me know if that's useful, and have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.